let's say there is an online coach, right, who is giving his best to grow his organization, working hard. Now, he or she is not able to understand what is stopping that person, right? There's a there's a ceiling happening to him, and he's not able to understand why he's not able to scale the business. Can the spiritual angle, our inner self, be the reason, and he's totally unaware of that, and he's just looking out, the exterior techniques and all those things. Hmm.
Absolutely. So, the materialistic world which we see from our naked eyes,
Hmm.
so science says it's just 2 to 4% of the real world. The real world is in the invisible forces.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Online Entrepreneur Show, and we are back with another episode here uh, in this interview, and we have a great personality with me here, Advait Danke. How are you, man?
Hey, hello Rahul. Thank you for the invitation. I'm doing very well.
Thank you so much, bro, for accepting my invite. My invite, and we had been planning for a long time. Thank you so much for this. For giving me your 30 minutes. And
Ab-
yeah,
Absolutely, it's my pleasure, and more than happy and more excited to speak on this interview.
amazing, man. And guys, Advait has been an amazing personality. We have been in touch for around more than 1 year, I guess. And he has, literally opened a new segment in my brain regarding business. I never knew that even the consciousness has to be there. Being a businessman, we have to be aware of that. I never knew those things. And thanks to Advait for helping me in these things. How many of you would love to know about these things? How you can consciously grow your business, right? And literally, he has connected spirituality with business, with online business, right? This is something crazy. Drop hashtag me if you really want to know about this. And now, without wasting any of time, without me speaking here, more of Advait speaking here. Okay. Advait, let me quickly give a brief introduction about you. Can I?
Absolutely. Stage is all
Thanks, man.
yours.
Thank you so much. So, Advait is a conscious business coach, a mindful marketer, TEDx speaker, Joe Stock speaker, and the most beautiful thing about him is that he has generated more than 1 crore revenue for his clients. What can be the best thing for a online marketer rather than, getting results for their clients? Amazing, man, amazing. So, Advait, I really want to ask you this question. How did this everything started, and what is your why to jump in this business?
Absolutely. So, to begin with, I would like to share my story and then the why of it.
Yes.
Because over the course of time, as this individual soul evolved, the why started to even evolve and enhanced. So my
Nice.
journey initially being into the typical Marathi middle class or Indian middle class mentality, it all started
Hmm.
with me being preparing for the academics basically, and at the same time my family being into appreciating into culture, arts and music. They wanted me to enroll in some kind of activity, let's say for a hobby, and to have a new passion or just have a new taste in life. So they enrolled me in music since my childhood, and
Okay.
that was my first connection with music. So
Nice.
initially it was all about learning the art and science of classical vocals,
Hmm.
which is Hindustani classical music,
Hmm.
and being into technology, being into communications, being into gaming myself. That passion led me to sound engineering and DJing.
Okay.
Why?
There's something
Because
called
I
sound
had,
engineering.
yes, because I had that question that how music is produced, how music is
Hmm.
given to films, to games, to different
Hmm.
parts of technology. And I was very curious about it.
Hmm.
How was the process back in the studio like? What's the back end of it? So that led me to sound engineering, and eventually that led me to DJing. So while I was preparing anyways for my academics, or let's say the formal education of getting a bachelor's degree, uh, I was completely a musician myself. So
Okay.
I was the typical backbencher kid in the college, in the high
Uh-huh.
school college as well as in the university
Hmm.
colleges. And entire day I was completely surrounded by music then.
mm,
So when I was in the peak of my academic career, in the third year bachelor's year,
mm,
something struck me while I was being uh, while I was also earning money, earning the
mm,
finances as a
mm,
music entrepreneur. Because as a DJ, as a sound engineer, you have to market yourself, you have
mm,
to build a business around the gig industry yourself. How
mm,
would you build your individual brand? How would you socialize it? How would you
mm.
distribute your music across different channels? So the understanding of marketing basically started from my own experimentation to
Wow.
build my own personal brand, to build my merchandise around my stage name. My stage
Mm.
name was Aviate, meaning to
AVA.
ascend and fly.
Okay.
So my music always had the emotion of giving you transcendence rather
Wow.
than just entertainment, even in the
Mm,
electronic music segment. So as a DJ, my intention while I was playing in the clubs, in the events, in multiple
mm,
university events as well, my intention was always to give a taste of music which would help you ascend and transcend.
mm.
And that was my differentiation factor. So I
Wow.
made sure that it had a hint of something which is grounding
Mm,
and which would be out of the world experience.
mm,
Even in the, let's say in the, even if it's a Bollywood event, I would make
mm.
sure I would choose the particular emotions and songs which would make you feel that.
Right.
So that journey of understanding music, how it
Mm,
changes human behavior,
mm,
how it changes the entire atmosphere, and at the
mm,
same time how would you establish yourself as an authority in the music gig industry, and
mm,
at the same time managing studies, managing home,
mm,
managing my sound engineering gigs. So DJing gigs are
mm.
different, sound engineering gigs are different, and at the same time creating a solid portfolio for both of the aspects was
Mm,
my learning points. So for that 18 and 19-year-old Advait, the
mm,
aspect of getting into the entrepreneurship background,
mm,
creating your own brand was happening very good, even
mm,
financially.
mm.
And
Okay.
at the same time, I would like to share this special aspect that I started my first gig when I was at the age of 14.
Wow.
My first gig was at the age of 14, and my first musical performance was at the age of 7.
In your
So,
school?
yeah, in my school, exactly.
Okay.
Right. So that was happening very well.
Mm,
And at the same time, my inner intuition and inner voice started to give me further insights that
mm,
life bas itna hi hai kya?
mm,
Is life only about you getting into events, earning
mm,
money, and doing all the things which a DJ should do, right? I've
mm,
done and dusted everything as a DJ should do. So all the people in the house, you might know what I'm saying about.
mm.
So तो लाइफ बस इतना ही है क्या, खाओ पियो मजे करो, पैसे
Okay.
कमाओ. So that thought came and I was able to catch that thought at this
Mm,
early age. Or
mm,
else what I have observed, people do not catch their own
mm.
thoughts. The clarity of thoughts is not there.
Actually.
They're able to assess, being alert of the thoughts, and
Mm,
then being able to analyze that, okay, this thought is
mm.
mine and this thought is not mine.
Wow.
This
This
thought
was
is,
amazing.
yeah, some thoughts are your originally,
Yes.
which your soul is giving to you as an
Mm,
universal signals, and
mm,
majority of the other thoughts, let's say 99% of the
mm.
thoughts, are programmed from the environment, from
Correct,
the
correct. From
environmental
the
vibrations.
influence. Right.
Exactly. And
Hmm.
even the science says the same now.
Hmm.
So I was lucky enough to catch that thought, to
Hmm.
introspect on that, जिसको हम चिंतन कहते हैं,
Hmm.
and then taking a pause in life. So
Okay.
that was the time in which my internal overwhelmingness was increasing. That
Hmm.
inner state of confusion was also
Hmm.
increasing. Even
Hmm.
though I was pretending in front of the people that
Hmm.
everything is going great, but yet that inner contentment was missing. And it was
Okay.
always like the universe, it was like giving me punches.
Hmm.
Something is left out. Something is left out.
So when did was this happening actually? At what age?
Yeah, at the age of 18 exactly.
18. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
yes, when I was in third year
Hmm.
computer science
Okay, you were
bachelor's.
completing your degree.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that was the time I said that this is not going to work for me
Hmm.
anymore. I need to take a pause. I
Hmm.
need to take a break. And that was the turning point for me. So I took a break. And that
Mm,
was the most courageous decision I ever took in my life.
mm,
And it was a strategic decision that in this 1 year pause, I would explore my own self, explore the clarity and the purpose of life, which
yes.
this body has given me, this soul has there. But what's the purpose behind the entire orchestra of life?
Mm,
So that was the turning point in which I went within to
mm,
seek the spiritual dimension of my life. Before
mm.
that, I was never spiritual nor even religious. I
Okay.
considered this culture of India as something which is blind,
Mm,
some blindfolded कहते हैं ना,
mm,
अंधविश्वास. So I was
mm,
exactly the same typical teenager as everyone
mm,
would expect, being
mm,
rebellious around our culture. And I was the same thing. But that journey of going within, that
mm,
pause, when we say that the student is ready, the master appears. When the
mm.
Shishya is ready, the Guru appears automatically.
Correct.
And you know exactly who the Guru is.
Yes.
You go on constantly searching for that one guy or one person
Mm,
to seek the knowledge, to seek the completion of life. And when you
mm,
get that person in all
mm,
the aspects of life, it's not just about spirituality, but it can
mm,
be your finance coach, it can be your marketing coach, it can be your business coach, it can
mm,
be your relationship coach,
mm.
it can be your marriage coach also. Why not?
Yes.
Right? It can be a generalized career coach. So
Mm,
the moment you get that mentor, that guru, everything changes. And same thing
mm.
happened to me. So I got the spiritual dimension, the spiritual guru in my life at that point, and my entire journey of life changed. It was
And
a 180-degree shift.
wow. And you were yet to complete your degree at this moment?
Yet to complete my degree, it was a complete 1 year
Mm,
pause, and that pause gave
mm,
me further insights onto self-realization, because the moment
mm,
you start to understand and connect deeply with your own
mm,
self, you start to
mm,
understand others.
mm,
If you cannot understand your own thoughts, you will
mm,
not be able to understand the communication of thoughts for others
mm.
also.
Correct.
If you're not able
Any,
to assess your own emotions, same thing
uh,
happens for the others.
correct,
And this is
exactly.
how, if you can't understand your own marketing or
Mm,
understanding your own consciousness, which is again streamlining in your
mm,
business, in your products, in your
mm,
services, in your
mm,
brand building process, you would not be able to catch the pulse of the market.
mm.
The marketing is evolving every now and then,
Correct.
and the consciousness is also.
Absolutely.
But
So,
are we connected to that?
yes, that's the point.
Yeah.
So, how did this shift happen now? You from loving music,
Hmm.
doing, performances, DJ performances on stages, going to the spiritual angle segment. Now, when did you come inside this online marketing thing?
Yeah,
Online coach, how did this happen?
absolutely.
And
So,
generally, sorry to interrupt you.
yeah, please.
Generally, we don't see like spiritual people entering into business. And there is some misconception also in India, like, they don't consider spirituality and business together. They feel like either you can go towards money or you can go towards spirituality. So yeah, we definitely need more clarity on that from you.
Absolutely. I would love to share that. And eventually, the why of the question of
Yes,
why would eventually come in the
exactly.
upcoming minutes.
Yes.
So, as I shared, as a music entrepreneur, I wanted to, anyways, establish myself in the gig
Mm,
industry, in the entertainment industry. So,
mm,
the understanding of how would you market yourself, how would you create your own brand, how would you
mm,
do your distribution across the
mm,
channels,
mm,
I started learning it on my own. So the angle of marketing was anyways coming from the gig industry for me. And being into a computer science background, I
mm.
never coded once in my life. So I
Okay.
was anyways never a backend guy.
Okay.
So I was always the manager kind of a aspect. So
Yeah.
management, communication, leadership, or being the
Okay.
front end person was always in my, you can say, in my
Yeah.
personality or in my
Right.
individuality. So coding किया है just to pass
Mm,
the exams, but not
mm.
to be in the corporate or to be
Correct.
professional coder. So the angle of marketing and communication started from the music background itself.
Mm,
That eventually evolved when I was serving with my couple of mentors in the
mm,
spiritual and wellness space. So while I was giving them the volunteering, because the understanding of seva is very important.
Hmm.
Unless and until you don't serve to your mentor, the knowledge doesn't get acquired to you, and it is not able to, and you are not able to execute it unless and until you serve.
Correct. Correct.
So while I was doing my
Hmm.
volunteership with him,
Hmm.
so the initial brand, which was
Hmm.
the mentor's brand, basically, it was completely offline, and we were
Okay.
into offline events.
Got it.
So we
Hmm.
need to establish the traditional marketing, the
Hmm.
PR, and then establish a sales cycle.
Hmm.
Let's say the consumer sees the ad on the newspaper, or
Hmm.
let's say organically via the Facebook event,
Hmm.
right? Or at that time, the townscript.com was there, Mera Events was there,
Yes,
online event
I can
aggregators,
remember.
even Book My Show at that
Hmm.
time was there. So, how would you bring the consumers there? Via your radio ads, via your TV ads,
Hmm.
from your newspaper ads, or even from
Hmm.
your local,
Hmm.
let's say, pamphlet distribution,
Hmm.
and then channelize them for the sales conversation, and then completing their sales and bringing them offline in the event space. So I was kind of acting as a traditional marketeer at that
Hmm.
point. And
Hmm.
then, well, the COVID hit. And
Okay.
that's where I discovered my marketing mentor,
Hmm.
Siddharth Rajsekar. So
Lovely.
the digital coach, which has completely given me a new
Hmm.
perspective of understanding your consumers, the funnel, the community systems, the automation systems,
Yes.
and building a community around you as a brand. So that was the
Yes.
time I ventured into the digital space. It was back in 2020 when the COVID
Okay.
hit. So then my responsibility was to convert my mentor's offline brand into an online brand.
Okay.
And
Nice.
again, establishing the entire funnel, product positioning, brand positioning, the
Hmm.
product strategy, product marketing strategy. How would you
Hmm.
again create the sales system on the webinar, the
Hmm.
automation system? How would you reach out to your consumers
Hmm.
online?
Hmm.
All the performance targeting, digital targeting, basically. So then streamlining the digital acquisition cycle for that
Hmm.
particular brand or the product or the service. So
Hmm.
eventually that started to happen on a repeat process. People
Right.
started to notice my ability, and
Hmm.
even I started to notice my ability of
Hmm.
understanding this knack of online marketing. And it was like the way I control the DJ
Hmm.
booth, it was similar to that. You have the system in front of you, all the numbers are there. You
Hmm.
know which funnel to add, you know which newsletter to boost, you
Hmm.
know which
Hmm.
should marketing channel should be, you know,
Hmm.
turn on the volume for that marketing channel.
Hmm.
So it was similar that for me. And that is
Okay.
how I ventured from being into uh so one part of me
Hmm.
is still into music.
Hmm.
So I still do the DJing, but not of entertainment anymore, but of sounds of silence. From
Okay.
the aspect of sound healing, music therapy, Nad yoga, and
Wow.
giving people an experience of their own internal state of silence. So that creative and spiritual side is completely ongoing. And at the
Hmm.
same time, to create the bread and butter, because we have
Hmm.
two sides of life,
Hmm.
the internal self and the external self, the inner
Correct.
world and the outer world. Similarly, there is the Dvait world and there is the Advaita world, right?
Nice.
So, so there is the spiritual world and at the same time the materialistic world.
Hmm.
So why people are confusing between being spiritual and not being into the aspects of money making?
Hmm.
There is a fundamental misconception there,
Hmm.
because generally people associate spirituality with ashrams or with
Yes.
gurus
Yes.
or with spiritual leaders. So basically, there is a very great distinction for a spiritual leader and
Hmm.
the actual spiritual gurus.
Hmm.
So the actual traditional aspect of spiritual gurus being into the sannyasi mode of
Hmm.
life and then running the actual ashram without any money, because
Hmm.
that mode is still into bhikshu mode. You are still
Hmm.
a sannyasi, you are officially converted from being a grahasti to a
Hmm.
sannyasi. Sannyasi means we take the leverage of all the materialistic world, right?
Correct.
For grahasti, which is the family person.
Hmm.
So we are all grahastis as of now.
Hmm.
सो गृहस्थी का एक धर्म ही है कि पैसा कमाना.
Correct.
सो गृहस्थी का है कि व्यवहार करना. सो इफ यू आर इनटू द एस्पेक्ट्स ऑफ a grahasti, a family person, so
Hmm.
the money system is anyways there. It is a part of dharma, artha, kama, moksha. So artha means being able to create your wealth.
Correct.
and your materialistic pleasures of life, because
Correct.
it is a completion of life. So spirituality comes there as well,
Hmm.
and this is where people are getting misaligned. So when people are talking about spirituality, they are acting as a coach rather than a guru,
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
gurus are very rare.
Hmm.
A true spiritual guru is very rare, and when the time comes, when your destiny comes, when your prarabdha karma, meaning your karmic attachments,
Hmm.
get fulfilled, that's where you
Hmm.
meet an actual guru.
Hmm.
Till then, you are just meeting the perceptions of your individual gurus. In the sense, you
Correct.
meet a mentor and you call himself or herself as a guru. That's fine.
Hmm.
But there is a great distinction of a guru in the
Hmm.
spiritual scriptures, and then a mentor or your mentee or your basically a teacher or a guide.
Correct.
So we are confusing that with a
Hmm.
guru, and we are
Hmm.
confusing ashrams with modern age NGOs,
Hmm.
right? Those are
Right.
also giving the right guidance to people. At least they are giving them the approach of life so that they would, at least in this
Hmm.
lifetime or next lifetime, would meet their guru,
Hmm.
right? So like that. So spirituality, again, business is
Hmm.
a combination of spirituality. Marketing can be a
Hmm.
part of spirituality as well,
Yes.
right? Because there is a famous saying that
Hmm.
because the soul is there, the body is there, because the body is there, the soul is there. So
Correct.
similarly, because the materialistic world is there, we can experience it with the
Correct.
non-materialistic world, and because the spiritual world is there, we can experience the materialistic world. So
Absolutely.
finances, money is again the same side or the different side of the
Hmm.
spiritual coin also. So it is
Correct.
all inclusiveness. If you again exclude the part of making
Hmm.
money, the finances, or
Hmm.
being, it is one of our fundamental duties of being a grahasti. So
Hmm.
again, you are not being in the state of oneness, you are
Hmm.
still excluding something.
Hmm.
So that's not inclusivity. So
Correct.
spirituality talks about being one and
Hmm.
completing all the responsibilities of our lifetime that this
Hmm.
body has. And eventually, that's how I found my why.
Hmm.
So when I found the ikigai, basically,
Hmm.
that by doing marketing, I'm getting
Hmm.
fulfilled
Hmm.
my intellectual
Hmm.
desires, because it's also a desire, it's also an
Hmm.
attachment.
Hmm.
So while I'm doing marketing for others or even for me, understanding all the analytics, all the digital side of things, my body is getting fulfilled.
Hmm.
So that is one of my why. And at the same time, the spiritual why is, if we have come in this lifetime,
Hmm.
we can get lost in the materialistic world very easily.
Very
But the
true.
moment you understand that this is all an illusion,
Hmm.
something greater has to be achieved, something greater impact you have to leave behind, not as an
Yes.
attachment, not as a
Hmm.
legacy, but to elevate the state of vibrations which you came
Hmm.
on this planet a
Hmm.
little bit higher, right?
Hmm.
That's what every animal species is doing. They're
Correct.
contributing something for the biology and for the earth,
Hmm.
for the mother earth, by whatever they can do. And
Hmm.
similarly, it is our responsibility as humans, अगर एक स्टेशन पे आए हैं ये
Hmm.
अर्थ के, तो उसको थोड़ा सा क्लीन करके तो जाए, थोड़ा सा अच्छा करके
Correct.
जाए. So that's my why, to
Nice.
create larger than impact rather than getting stuck on into my own compulsions, into my
Hmm.
own limitations. Because if you are a complete man or a complete woman, you will be, at that time only you can really impact the world.
Yes.
So if you are internally complete and fulfilled, at
Hmm.
that point you can keep your family happy. At that time you can
Hmm.
really keep the world happy. So it
Right.
becomes with your internal happiness. So that's my why.
Nice. Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah.
Now, there is something which I really want to ask you is, let's say there is an online coach, right, who is giving his best to grow his organization, working hard. Now, he or she is not able to understand what is stopping that person, right? There's a there's a ceiling happening to him, and he's not able to understand why he's not able to scale the business. Can the spiritual angle, our inner self, be the reason, and he's totally unaware of that, and he's just looking out, the exterior techniques and all those things. He's trying to figure out, maybe this method is not working, or maybe this method is not working. What if the problem is something internal? So how do you see all these things? I'm sure you would have helped, because you are a conscious business coach, and as we were talking, you are helping the entrepreneurs at such levels, so I really need some deeper understanding, and definitely my audience needs to understand, because there are many people right in my community who are stuck at a particular glass ceiling, and now they are not able to break through that. So what can be those reasons if it is internal game? Hmm.
Absolutely. So, the materialistic world which we see from our naked eyes,
uh,
so science says it's just 2 to 4% of the real world. The real
okay.
world is in the invisible forces.
Hmm.
So, if we keep on trying
Hmm.
to fix the visible changes, it
Hmm.
would be limited till some point, right?
Right.
If you're
Correct.
fixing, let's say, your visible marketing changes, but there
Hmm.
are some invisible changes which are required, which are not on paper, but in your mind, but in your
Hmm.
consciousness,
Hmm.
that needs to be changed first. That needs to have a direct shift in consciousness, and at the same time, invisibly change, which would then bring a visible change. So,
Hmm.
as we say, the unmanifesto and then the
Hmm.
manifesto.
Hmm.
So, something has to first unmanifest in the mind,
Hmm.
then it would be then manifested onto the real world. And for
Correct.
that to happen, we need to work on the invisible forces more. For an
Hmm.
example, the gravity is an invisible force.
Hmm.
Sound is an invisible force.
Correct.
Unless and until it is perceived and the data is interpreted by the body and the brain and the mind,
Hmm.
till that point it is invisible.
Hmm.
So majority of our life is invisible, and that is the illusion. We think
Hmm.
the visible is the real world,
Hmm.
but that is the illusion. So first thing is to understand what are the invisible or the blind spots which we have not worked on. For an
Okay.
example, if the business is not going good,
Hmm.
there can be a blind spot or an invisible fix in your relationship,
Hmm.
which maybe it would be with your dad or with
Hmm.
your mom or with your partner or even with your kids or even with your
Okay.
business partners, due to
Okay.
which the actual problem is getting manifested. That's how karma
Hmm.
works technically.
Hmm.
Something stuck in your river of life or in your
Hmm.
river of business also, something is
Hmm.
stuck but you're not able to identify that from
Hmm.
which pathway the stone has come into the river.
Hmm.
We can just see
Correct.
the color which is black, but we don't know from which source it is.
Hmm.
So now to identify the source, we need to check our life holistically. Okay,
Hmm.
what's happening at our health?
Hmm.
What's happening with our mental health? What's happening with our spiritual health? Sometimes what happens, I have interacted with so many entrepreneurs. They kind of inflate their ego so much
Hmm.
that they become totally blindfolded, just I and me.
Hmm.
They don't
Yes.
consider their team, they don't consider the sacrifices that their family and their partner is making, their kids are
Correct.
making for them, right? What about the environment and the community which is sacrificing? So we are just one sided, just as a
Hmm.
horse who is not
Hmm.
able to see the entire vision
Hmm.
when we give him the locks basically.
Hmm.
There is a technical term for it, I don't know.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I think it's not the paddle, but there is a term.
Yeah.
So all
Those.
the, yeah, the
Yeah. So
flaps
that he
basically.
can. Yeah. The
We can
flaps.
just
Yeah.
see one sided.
Only at one
So we
direction.
become
Yeah.
one sided in our life. And that
Hmm.
is why we just keep on fixing the visible changes. And those visible changes are also based on the information that we have.
Hmm.
Now, even in a 4 years degree, or let's say in an MBA, we cannot complete an entire spectrum of marketing.
Hmm.
Well, marketing is completely evolving, and saying that we know even 2% of marketing is again an ego. Even
Hmm.
if we know that 1% of the knowledge of the world is an ego.
Hmm.
So the visible changes are again limited to your knowledge, to your
Correct.
past based behavior. If you
Correct.
don't have an experience or expertise in any technical domain of that
Hmm.
particular subject, how
Hmm.
far would you go? You would
Hmm.
keep on hiring consultants, you would keep on hiring different teams, you would keep
Yes.
watching different videos, but till what extent? You need
Hmm.
to work on your business first,
Hmm.
right? So the visible changes are there, but still they are
Hmm.
limited to our limitations, and there is a human limitation also, right? We can only work, let's say, 12 hours to 16 hours in a day. Even that is a far stretched
Hmm.
hours. We can
Hmm.
work, let's say, practically 4 to 6 hours in a day.
Correct.
बाकी तो
Efficient
चाय
one.
में जाते हैं,
हाँ.
हाइजीन में जाते हैं, बातचीत करने में जाते हैं। तो
Correct.
प्रैक्टिकली 4 to 6 आवर्स वो डीप वर्क होता है हमारे से,
Correct.
तो वो लिमिटेशन है। बट व्हाट इफ वी चेंज द आउटलुक ऑफ लाइफ टुवर्ड्स
Hmm.
मल्टीपल डायमेंशंस
Hmm.
and then see that okay, my business patterns are the same patterns in my health
Hmm.
patterns. These are the same patterns I do for the God. These are
Hmm.
the same patterns I do when I seek
Hmm.
spirituality. Let's say if I have a
Okay.
lazy attitude in business, I would have a lazy attitude in my relationship.
Okay.
I would be lazy in my activities pertaining to
Hmm.
achieving God also, achieving my spiritual state.
Hmm.
And I would be lazy for earning money also, or giving the
Correct.
accountant
Correct.
the check also. So these are
Yes.
the invisible emotional states,
Hmm.
invisible mental states, and invisible human behavioral acts
Hmm.
and compulsive habits which we
Hmm.
overlook.
How?
Once you are
Yeah.
internally established in your own clarity of thought and vision,
Hmm.
that gets anyways translated into marketing. We have seen so many examples of great entrepreneurs, brands,
Hmm.
companies. एक्चुअली आइडियाज बहुत सिंपल होते हैं,
Yeah.
प्रॉब्लम्स बड़े होते हैं, बट आइडियाज बहुत सिंपल है।
Hmm.
और उसके लिए वो प्रेजेंस ऑफ माइंड एंड दैट इंट्यूशन ऑफ ए यूरेका मिल गया, यूरेका मिल
Hmm.
गया,
Hmm.
राइट? दैट प्रेजेंस ऑफ माइंड इज मिसिंग।
Hmm. So what are the tools by which we can, fix all these things or even realize, okay, this is wrong, this is going wrong in my internal self or in terms of my habits. This is what I have to rectify, and then the effect will be onto the business. How
राइट,
will we analyze all these things as a person, as a
यस।
businessman?
First, the value of being able to sit back and relax is very important. In
Okay,
the
sit
in
back
this
and
age
relax.
of hustle and bustle,
Hmm.
we are always in we are not always, we have been put ourselves by the
Hmm.
world into
Hmm.
constant competition and
Hmm.
comparison,
Hmm.
and a constant illusion of I have no time, I have no time, I have no
Hmm.
time. My life is limited, my life is limited. No, your life is not limited. You're not
Hmm. Hmm.
limited by these external bounds and
Yes,
boundaries. So
correct.
first is to analyze
Hmm.
and really introspect on what's
Hmm.
happening at life. That happened
Hmm.
for me when I was in third year computer science engineering.
Hmm.
When I took that pause, when I shut all the external senses which were giving to me, because my dad
Hmm.
was saying something, my mom was saying something,
Hmm.
my relatives were saying something to me, my
Hmm.
friends were saying something to me, the
Hmm.
internet was saying something to me, all the motivational coaches were saying something else to me, right?
Correct.
The YouTube Baba was saying something different, the Google Baba was saying. So what to do
Yes.
then? Whom to
Yes.
listen? The
Yes.
only voice which you would listen is of yourself.
Nice.
So टू रियली हैव दैट, चिंतन करना है, मनन करना है, पहले
Hmm.
तो शांत बैठना है।
Hmm.
मेडिटेशन भी नहीं जाना है, दैट इज ऑल्सो वेरी फार। फर्स्ट
Okay.
इज टू जस्ट सिट बैक एंड जस्ट लिस्ट डाउन व्हाट इज हैपनिंग इन लाइफ।
Hmm.
इज इट समथिंग विच इज creating more and more loopholes and more desires in life, or are we really living a simple life in which we are getting our completions and contentment? That is the first question to ask.
Hmm.
Sitting back, getting a pause and relaxation,
Correct.
sitting in silence, and introspecting on that. Am I
Hmm.
being driven by the external senses or the
Hmm.
external thoughts of the programmed environment? Or
Hmm.
is it my own internal will, faith,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
passion to really
Hmm.
contribute on this subject matter expert? Because
Hmm.
every soul has a destiny, every body has a destiny.
Hmm.
And if you are in this field, you are anyways destined to be in that field.
Hmm.
But it's just that how optimized you are
Hmm.
for that. So, first is to retrospect and
Hmm.
sit back, relax, and understand your compulsive habitations.
Okay.
First step is that.
Got it.
Second step, once we know
Hmm.
that now this is something which I've hit the rock bottom of my life, or let's say the
Hmm.
ceiling, peak ceiling of my life.
Hmm.
Now I'm not able to go beyond this.
Hmm.
This is the time you need to surrender like a
Hmm.
spring. The
Hmm.
moment we surrender, it actually gives you the boost. Have you seen a spring
Yes.
mechanism? The more
Yes.
it compresses, the more it goes out.
Correct.
So the more you go in,
Hmm.
the more you surrender, Right now, if you don't know whom to surrender, just surrender to yourself first. And
Hmm.
any god or any guru or any, any
Hmm.
coach that you
Hmm.
are following,
Hmm.
because it is not about that coach, it is about you again. When we
Hmm.
say that forgiveness is not for the others, it is for the self.
Yes.
It
Correct.
is exactly the same technology. The god is not in the statue. We
Hmm.
create the god out of our surrenderance for our
Hmm.
inner god to get activated.
Yes.
But at the same time, we remain humbled to that statue also, to that stone also. That
Hmm.
because of that stone, I saw the god in you, and because of that, I saw the god in myself.
Hmm.
So the next step would be surrenderance to whatever
Okay.
process and whichever coach you are following. If you don't have a coach, you should get a coach.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that's the second step.
Absolutely.
First is to relax,
Sit back
sit
and
back.
relax.
लाइफ
Surrenderance.
लाइफ है आपकी, चालू है, सब सही है।
Hmm. Hmm.
हमारा ही कंपल्शन से हमारा ही कंपैरिजन है, हमारी कंपटीशन है। जैसे हम कहते हैं ना, 10वीं के मीम्स होते हैं, शर्मा जी का बेटा क्या कर रहा है, राइट? तो वो
Correct.
नहीं करना है हमें। एवरीवन हैज देयर ओन जर्नी। समवन बिकम्स
Correct.
एंटरप्रेन्योर एट द एज ऑफ 50, someone dies at the age of 50. We
Hmm.
know the famous story of McDonald's and KFC.
Yes.
They started
Yes.
their career when they were grandpas, basically,
Yes.
right? So everyone has their own destiny. And at the same time, keeping desires and goal is one thing, but being desperate for those goals and visions
Hmm.
is a fallacy,
Hmm.
right? Because the eureka moment happens naturally to you. It's a
Hmm.
natural process. So you can only work on your internal state of vibrations, your internal
Hmm.
state of consciousness, and let the universe guide you
Hmm.
automatically. That's a very beautiful state to be.
Yes, I think I read a book 3 to 4 years back. It was called Surrender Experiment.
Hmm.
It definitely talks about that, if just surrender yourself and the life will automatically take you to the right guidance.
Absolutely. Because your own ego is again coming from the past, your own information and intellect, not the
Hmm.
higher intellect I'm talking, not the विवेक बुद्धि I'm talking about. जो अभी
Hmm.
हमारी egoistic intellect है, वो
Hmm.
limited है. And
Hmm.
with those limitations, we are just seeing what our limited mind can comprehend.
Hmm.
We can only, let's say, research hundred and thousands of our competitors, not beyond
Hmm.
than that. AI
Hmm.
can do much more faster now,
Correct.
right? The data processing can happen very fast, but we as a human mind, we have limitations.
Hmm.
So again, even if we are comparing, we are again
Hmm.
comparing to our state of consciousness only.
Hmm.
So if we are anyways lazy, greedy, we will again compare those same states of energies, and that would
Hmm.
not work. You
Hmm.
would think that my business would grow,
Hmm.
but actually it would not.
Hmm.
Your life will not evolve. So
Hmm.
again, taking a pause, taking a relaxation,
Hmm.
and let the life be as it is.
Hmm.
Second would be surrenderance,
Yes.
right? And third would be the other word of yoga is discipline. So
Okay.
discipline has to be there. The
Okay.
discipline to comprehend what is happening and to
Hmm.
take actions.
Hmm.
So discipline is a very hard word nowadays, but let's
Hmm.
say commitment.
Hmm.
Commitment and perseverance.
Correct.
So those three, once you go and understand what's happening in life, by
Hmm.
taking a pause and then surrendering, and
Hmm.
then creating those gaps and loopholes, you know
Hmm.
now the action points for it to cover the loopholes,
Correct.
right? And then it is about the application for it,
Got it. Got it. Got it.
right?
Amazing. So I can summarize it. If you're really stuck in your business and you're not able to break that glass ceiling, so the 3 steps which you can follow is the first one you said is sit back and relax.
And
Identify.
see, yeah,
Yes.
and see what's happening in other areas of life to see
Yes.
the
Holistic view.
reflection of business. Yeah,
Correct. Correct. Understand that holistic view of business, what all things are going in your life. And next comes is surrenderance. And the third you said is commitment and perseverance. Amazing. Amazing.
absolutely,
Amazing.
absolutely.
I really love that.
And after this,
Mm,
the aspect of meditation can be really unlocked, because
mm,
without commitment and discipline, we cannot go into meditation and even
correct.
practice the dhyan or being into
Definitely.
states of yoga.
Mm,
So for that, it needs a very
mm,
strong mind, a very relaxed body, and then
yes.
we can meditate. So meditation is required for the clarity of thought and expanding your vision.
Mm,
So once
got it.
you start to understand your own thoughts, and clearing your desires and attachments, you would
Hmm.
now understand, okay, this is the vision, this is the clarified, distinguished vision. जैसे हम
Hmm.
अ, चन मतलब दूध को चन करते करते करते
हाँ.
करते घी आता है, करेक्ट?
Hmm.
राइट? सो एग्जैक्टली द churning of that,
Hmm.
or else just as a swan
Hmm.
just takes the milk out of the milk and water mixture.
Hmm.
तो वैसे हमें स्वान बनना है हमारे लाइफ का, कि हम ये सब धुंधले पानी से सिर्फ दूध ही निकाले,
Hmm.
वही क्लैरिफाइड विजन निकाले जो हमारे सोल के लिए बनी है.
Correct.
And that's
That was
what
deep.
really happens in the conscious business alignment, that
Hmm.
first you understand your own state of consciousness, then
Hmm.
you live a conscious life first, because business is a
Hmm.
part of life. Whatever
Reflection. Yeah.
people nowadays are doing, I am seeing so many entrepreneurs, not even online but even offline,
Hmm.
उनके दिमाग में सिर्फ एक ही चालू है, पैसा पैसा पैसा,
Hmm.
काम काम काम. मगर
Hmm.
उससे नहीं प्रसन्न होगा कोई भी, लक्ष्मी तो नहीं
Hmm.
प्रसन्न होगी ना, सरस्वती
Hmm.
प्रसन्न होगी, राइट? बाकी तो गॉड्स और गॉडेसेस तो बात की बात है,
Correct.
राइट? तो सिर्फ वही सोच लेने से हमारी लाइफ इवॉल्व नहीं होती, एंड देन यू स्टार्ट टू ओवरबर्डन योरसेल्फ.
Hmm.
This is the clarity which is needed, that do I really even want to be a businessman? That is the
Hmm.
first question also,
Yes. What
because
if,
it takes a lot of courage to be
yes,
an
what if that
entrepreneur.
thought is picked up from the, what if it is not my own thought,
Exactly,
being an entrepreneur?
exactly,
I just saw other entrepreneurs doing fantastic. I got attracted with them and picked that thought.
exactly. So
Mm.
first thing is to really assess that,
Yes.
because nowadays, now being we are marketeers ourselves, so
Hmm.
we know all the tricks in the bags. We use the
Hmm.
fear psychology, the FOMO
Hmm.
psychology, the
Hmm.
reward mechanism, the dopamine
Hmm.
mechanism, right?
Hmm.
All the tactics. Now the
Hmm.
neuromarketing is also on the rise.
Hmm.
So everyone is using that. Everyone
Hmm.
is now using the chat GPT
Hmm.
scripts, which are very optimized
Hmm.
for all these techniques, right?
Yeah.
So unless and until you are fundamentally strong within your own
Hmm.
self and connected with your own inner self, you would not know this.
Yes.
So then you would have that understanding, okay, अगले 3-4 साल के लिए अगर मुझे जॉब भी करना
Hmm.
है ना, तो मैं बहुत हैप्पी रहूंगा इसमें, मैं मेरे
Hmm.
बॉस को बहुत हैप्पी रखूंगा.
Hmm.
ऐसा नहीं कि बॉस मुझे तंग कर रहा है. सी ही शी also has a responsibility.
Hmm.
But nowadays every conversation is about jealousy, hate.
Hmm.
इसका मैं कुत्ता नहीं बन सकता, ऐसा थोड़ी होता है
Hmm.
ना.
Hmm.
आप
Hmm.
एक्चुअली एंटरप्रेन्योर तभी बनेंगे ना, आप आपके एम्प्लॉयज के कुत्ते हो जाते हैं. ये मैंने
Hmm.
देखा है, ये मैंने
Yes.
देखा है, मैंने सारे एंटरप्रेन्योर्स को आज तक इंटरव्यू लिया है, मैंने यही देखा है. वो
Hmm.
आके बोलते हैं मैं तो पैसा अभी सिर्फ मेरे एम्प्लॉयज के लिए बना रहा हूँ, मेरे पास पैसे नहीं आ रहे. आई एम द
हाँ.
लास्ट वन टू इवन हैव दैट.
हाँ.
समटाइम्स दे डोंट इवन गेट देयर सैलरी.
Yes.
तो ये सारा हमें सोचना है, हमें डरना नहीं है इससे.
Hmm.
अगर ये लेके जाना, इट्स अ साइंटिफिक प्रोसेस. मेनी
Hmm.
पीपल हैव क्रैक्ड इट, राइट?
Hmm.
आवर कोचेस हैव क्रैक्ड इट. सो उसे
Hmm.
डरना नहीं है. हमें स्टेप बाय स्टेप सारे सिस्टम्स को अंडरस्टैंड करके आगे जाना है.
Correct.
But for that, we need a clarity of thought. We need that vision.
Yes.
We need that mission. And for
Yes.
that, we need the support of our environment. If we go against our environment, we cannot ride the wave which is coming to us. We need to
Hmm.
ride with the flow and the direction of the wave itself.
Hmm.
तो वो है.
Got it. Amazing. Wow. This was a wow moment, seriously. Now, the next question which I really want to ask you is, uh, me and my audience would really love to know about what all changes you made for your coach when he was, I mean, not your coach, your client I'm talking about.
Right? Yeah.
Obviously, I think what you said, he was your coach also. And then you understood the business model and applied all those things
Exactly.
for him.
Correct.
What all major changes you did for him externally as well as internally, which moved that person to 1 crore from 1 crore revenue from online space? How did that happen? If in
Absolutely.
brief, if you want to
Yeah.
tell.
And apart from that, I would like to also share, like, apart
Hmm.
from that particular project of mine, we have
Hmm.
like more than 4 projects which are clocking upwards and above 6 CR.
Wow.
So, so
Amazing.
for multiple projects, for
Uh,
multiple clients in the same exact coaching and consulting space. So, how did we do that? First is understanding the client's consciousness and your
hmm.
consciousness first. So by
Hmm.
understanding that, I understood, okay, these are the gaps which are
Hmm.
not being
Hmm.
fulfilled
Hmm.
from the product side, from the service side, from the marketing and branding side, from the perception of the brand as a whole.
Okay.
One message, one
Got it.
pain point, one funnel, and
Hmm.
the one comprehensive brand image. The
Hmm.
positioning was not established. So, by understanding our inner state of mind, we understand, okay, all
Hmm.
these things are not established any which ways. There is no
Hmm.
vision for it. For the next
Hmm.
10 years, for the next 50 years, what's the legacy
Hmm.
of your brand and company which you want to live with,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So, once that clarity of vision
Hmm.
is established, then we work reversely. Okay,
Hmm.
now in the next 2 years, what are the big goals that we want to
Hmm.
achieve? And to create that, every quarter, what has to be done?
Hmm.
How clocked? How much profit has to be
Hmm.
clocked from that revenue? How much loss would be expected? Or what would be the
Hmm.
red flags in the
Hmm.
entire process? What should be the team's growth metric?
Hmm.
Not just with their salaries, but in their personal lives also. Are they really working to their own
Hmm.
fulfillment? Are
Hmm.
their families happy because
Okay.
of our company or not? Because this comes karmically to
Hmm.
us.
Correct.
Understanding the team's vision, team's voice, because
Hmm.
the first voice of brand is who? Not the first set of consumers, but your team
We.
members.
Yeah.
Of course, the entrepreneur himself or herself is, but then the immediate extension is your not even your
Team.
family, it's your team. So
Correct.
how well you keep your team
Hmm.
really sets the actual brand.
Correct.
And we have seen that bad
Hmm.
teams create bad revenue, and bad
Hmm.
revenue creates bad impact in the entire society and
Right.
eventually the brand. So, first thing is understanding your own state of consciousness, then the
Hmm.
team's consciousness, and then setting the vision for the entire company and brand
Hmm.
and keeping the culture together,
Hmm.
right? Because we as humans are a culture based animals. We
Hmm.
move together when the civilization moves, when the
Correct.
entire community gets upgraded. So, it is the culture that we
Hmm.
maintain in the brand, and that's how all the legacy brands have stood the test of time. They have
Hmm.
maintained their culture for their teams, for their internal, let's say, internal communication, and for their external set of consumers also. So the customers are different and the
Hmm.
consumers are different. There is a great line of distinction between that as well. So
Hmm.
now you need to know who your customers are, who your
Hmm.
audience is, and
Hmm.
who your actual consumers are,
Hmm.
right? जैसे कि कस्टमर एक जैसे कि मैगी
Hmm.
ब्रांड है एग्जांपल,
Hmm.
कस्टमर्स है माँ या उनके फैमिली मेंबर्स, बट
Correct.
कंज्यूमर्स है बच्चे,
Kids. Correct.
किड्स है,
Absolutely.
राइट? एंड इवन द ऑडियंस इज डिफरेंट फॉर डिफरेंट रीजंस. सो
Yes.
आपके कस्टमर्स कौन है, आपके कंज्यूमर्स कौन है, आपके
Hmm.
कस्टमर्स के एक्विजिशन साइकिल कहाँ पे
Hmm.
है, what is the consumers
Hmm.
acquisition cycle,
Hmm.
what are the returning consumers acquisition cycle,
Hmm.
where it is getting into the same path of convergence, वो आप
Hmm.
अंडरस्टैंड करें. जहाँ
Got
वहां
it.
से आपको फनल इंसाइट्स मिलेंगे. फनल वुड बी
Hmm.
गेट बिल्ट व्हेन यू हैव दिस लार्जर मिशन, and then
Hmm.
when you know the actual consumers and the customers, and then
Hmm.
that's how you build a very strong product. When you see the missing market gaps, and then even if it's a gap of very small, like बहुत छोटा गैप
Hmm.
भी है तो भी चलता है, राइट?
Hmm.
आपको बड़ा गैप चाहिए तो ट्रिलियन डॉलर में खेलना है, मगर आपको आपको ये अभी आपको देखना है, राइट? द क्लैरिटी
Correct.
इज, अगेन, some business owners are very happy with lakhs of turnovers and they are
Yes.
happy. Why
Hmm.
should we? कैसे होता है 10 लाख कमाने के बाद हमें चाहिए 100 लाख,
Hmm. Hmm.
1 करोड़ हो गए तो 10 करोड़ चाहिए. ये साइकिल कभी नहीं खत्म होती.
Correct.
एक बार हमने दारू पिया तो हमें और दारू चाहिए, तो वैसे ही है
Hmm.
ये. दिस
Hmm.
इंटॉक्सिकेशन ऑफ मनी एंड पावर इज
Hmm.
वेरी 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 लाइक वॉकिंग ऑन अ थिन लाइन. तो
Hmm.
यही क्लैरिटी है.
Hmm.
बिकॉज इफ समवन वांट्स टू बिकम 5000 CR बिजनेस, इट
Hmm.
डजंट मीन कि आपको भी वही चाहिए ना. शायद
Hmm.
से आपका पूरा लाइफ 5 करोड़ बिजनेस में ही कंप्लीट हो जाए. एंड
Correct.
आपको किसको दिखाना है भाई रिजल्ट? आपको अल्टीमेटली रिजल्ट आपके बैंक अकाउंट में, आपके कोच को और आपके फैमिली को दिखाना है, और
Hmm.
प्रोडक्ट डिलीवर करना है आपके कंज्यूमर्स को. बाकी
Correct.
पैसे है नहीं है वो क्या है ना चीज. तो
Correct.
पहले है यही क्लैरिटी.
Correct. Where do
in
you
all
want
the
to actually
aspects
go?
of, yeah, and we should be happy with small numbers also. उसमें कोई
Hmm.
दिक्कत नहीं है,
Hmm.
right? by
Got it.
by saying this I'm not saying कि कॉम्प्रोमाइज करना है हमें,
Hmm.
टू अंडरस्टैंड कि ये बॉडी किसके लिए बनी है, ये पात्र किसका है ना। अभी ये
Hmm.
पात्र अगर डोमेस्टिक ही खेलने लायक बना है और हम
Hmm.
ओलंपिक के खेलने तक मर रहे हैं, खुद की जिंदगी काट रहे हैं, इट
Hmm.
डजंट मेक सेंस। इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि हम ओलंपिक के लिए तैयारी ना करें, करनी है ना,
Hmm. Hmm.
बट वी शुड नो where we are standing, what kind of resources we have. So
Hmm.
this is where the fourth and the fifth step comes in. What is the actual reality we are in? कितने कचरे में है और ये
Hmm.
कचरा साफ करने के लिए क्या लगने वाला है,
Hmm.
ये क्लैरिटी नहीं होती लोगों के पास.
Correct.
People
Correct.
are in their own illusions and they get distracted with that illusions. So
Correct.
again, understanding your own state of consciousness, because it gets traveled in your business, in your
Hmm.
product and service, and eventually it reflects in your customers and consumers also.
Correct.
अगर आपका कॉन्शियसनेस बहुत ही ऐसा बहुत ही ओवरवेलमिंग है, बहुत ही कंफ्यूजिंग है, आपको कंफ्यूजिंग कस्टमर्स मिलेंगे, ऐसा
Hmm.
ही होता है। तो कॉल
Yes.
पे भी आपको कंफ्यूजन क्लियर करते रहना पड़ेगा एंड स्टिल दे वुड बी कंफ्यूज्ड इन टेकिंग द डिसीजन.
Correct.
So that aspect of consciousness, then understanding the larger mission vision, the setting of the culture,
Hmm.
and really contributing to the first set of brand voice, which is our team, एंड
Hmm.
देन टू द पावर कंज्यूमर्स एंड द पावर कस्टमर्स, जो हमारा कस्टमर है, कंज्यूमर है, जो इनिशियल सेट होता है वो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है।
Correct.
उनको अंडरस्टैंड करके हम फिर देखें कि कितना गाड़ी कचरे में है, कितना गियर में है,
Hmm.
और उसको 5वें गियर तक लाने के लिए या फिर ईवी को अपग्रेड करने के लिए क्या लगने वाला है,
Hmm.
राइट?
Amazing.
So
And
those are the initial phases that we would
yes.
have to work on the conscious business alignment. देन अगेन,
Hmm.
फनल कैसे सेट करना है, मार्केटिंग कैसे करना है, ब्रांड
Hmm.
डिजाइन कैसे करना है,
Hmm.
उसके टच पॉइंट्स कैसे चेंज करने हैं, वो तो आगे की एग्जीक्यूशन बात है। बट
Correct.
फर्स्ट यहाँ पे है स्ट्रैटेजी. आई थिंक
Correct.
Einstein has also said the
Uh,
actual 90% of the question, actually the
hmm.
solution is in the question itself.
Hmm.
सो आई बिलीव आज के डेट में लोग स्ट्रैटेजी को इतना भाव नहीं दे रहे, उनको लगता है सब
Hmm.
एग्जीक्यूशन कर दो भाई, जल्दी से बना दो ग्राफिक पोस्टर, ये फनल
Hmm.
उठा दो, बना दो, कॉपी पेस्ट कर दो, जीपीटी से स्क्रिप्ट भी बना लो, डाल
Hmm.
दो। मगर अभी गूगल भी उतना ही स्मार्ट है. All these algorithms would then it would catch the AI language, and there is a great
Yes.
distinct, अभी दिखता है
Yes.
language,
दिखता है बिल्कुल
AI language and human
easily.
language easily दिखता है. Of
Correct.
course in the next 5-10 years it would be a lesser gap, but the gap
Hmm.
would still be there.
Yes.
आप ह्यूमन टच को कैसे रिप्लेस कर सकते हो?
Hmm.
अल्टीमेटली आप कितना भी एआई बेस्ड कस्टमर सपोर्ट लाए, तब तक मैं आपको पूछूंगा नहीं ना, हाँ आपने मेरे प्रोडक्ट को एक्सपीरियंस किया क्या, कैसे लगा आपको,
Hmm.
आपको अच्छा लगा ना?
Hmm.
तभी वो गाड़ी, तभी वो ब्रांड के लॉयल कस्टमर्स बनेंगे.
Correct.
उनको भी पता
Correct.
चलेगा ये एआई वॉइस है, ये मेरे को भाव नहीं दे रहे, तो मे बी
Correct.
इसको क्यों मैं लॉयल लॉयल रहूं और क्यों मैं लॉयलिटी दिखाऊं
Correct.
इनको, राइट?
Absolutely.
तो
इसका
जो
ये,
माँ,
हाँ, ये एआई
जो
इंडस्ट्री, या,
या जस्ट ऑन दी लार्जर कंप्लीशन, जैसे माँ जो
हाँ,
कभी पूछती है खाना खाया ना,
हाँ,
तो वो जो है ना वो एआई नहीं
यस,
दे
वो
सकता ना.
फील
वो तो
वेरी ट्रू,
स्पिरिचुअलिटी ही दे सकता है, वो
वेरी
आपको
ट्रू,
आपका रिलीजन ही दे सकता है,
एक्चुअली.
राइट?
एंड कई बार ऐसे भी होता है, लाइक वी एज ए कंज्यूमर, जैसे अगर मैं किसी कंपनी को अप्रोच करता हूँ, इफ आई सी ऑन देयर वेबसाइट, लाइक इफ ए बॉट इज ट्राइंग टू अप्रोच मी, आई फील अ बिट डिस्कनेक्टेड विद देम. आई मीन वो सब अब बस प्रोडक्ट बेस्ड रह जाता है, ठीक है, मुझे इनसे इंफॉर्मेशन लेना है, वो एक जो एक्चुअल स्पिरिचुअल कनेक्शन है वो मेरा उस कंपनी के साथ नहीं बिल्ड हुआ होता है. दैट ओनली
एब्सोल्युटली.
कैन बी फॉर्म्ड विद ह्यूमन
ह्यूमन
टच.
टच एंड कनेक्शन.
यस.
तो
एंड आई
दैट
थिंक,
इज वेरी एसेंशियल बीइंग
यस.
इनटू अ डिजिटल फर्स्ट बिजनेस. आप कैसे आपके ही कंज्यूमर्स के साथ और कम्युनिटी के साथ आप ह्यूमन कनेक्शन एस्टेब्लिश कर रहे हो. वेर
करेक्ट.
इज द डीपर, अपार्ट फ्रॉम सेलिंग योर प्रोडक्ट एंड गेटिंग रेवेन्यू, वेर इज द डीपर ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन ऑफ लाइफ दैट यू आर गिविंग देम. छोटे
करेक्ट.
से छोटे प्रोडक्ट में भी ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन होता है लाइफ का,
एब्सोल्युटली.
राइट?
या.
छोटे से छोटे अगर मैंने क्लॉथ बैग अगर आज यूज किया, इट
हम्म.
इज चेंजिंग सम क्वालिटी ऑफ लाइफ फॉर
हम्म.
मी. The quality of getting into the market, buying the groceries, and coming
हम्म.
back to home, that
हम्म.
changes the quality of life, that changes the quality of conversations I'm having with my family, right?
करेक्ट.
So
करेक्ट.
something is deeper. तो ये deeper meaningful ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन आएंगे तब आपके कॉन्शियसनेस में क्लैरिटी है, तब
एब्सोल्युटली.
आपको ये दिखेगा आपको ह्यूमन साइकोलॉजी समझेगा, ह्यूमन बिहेवियर
Yes.
समझेगा।
Yes. Yes.
आपको बिजनेस नहीं, आप एच टू एच समझेगा, मतलब ह्यूमन
Hmm.
टू ह्यूमन बिजनेस में आप तभी
Hmm.
आओगे, तभी ये समझेगा। नहीं तो हम बी टू
Absolutely
बी, बी टू सी, डी टू सी
correct.
के चक्कर में हम गए। अभी नाउ इवन इन द मेटावर्स एंड वेब थ्री
Hmm.
डोमेन, नाउ इट इज
Hmm.
मार्केटिंग टू योर अवेटार्स एंड मार्केटिंग टू योर एआई एजेंट्स नाउ। दैट इज द नेक्स्ट स्टेप इन मार्केटिंग। सो
Correct.
हम तो ऐसे ही सोए होंगे, बट द मार्केटिंग इज हैपनिंग टू योर अवेटार एंड द
Hmm.
अवेटार इज टेकिंग इट्स ओन एआई डिसीजन।
Decisions.
इवेंचुअली
Hmm.
दैट इज गोइंग टू हैपन,
Hmm.
बट तब तक हम वो रेस लॉस्ट हो चुके होंगे। हमें एच टू एच में करना है हमारा
Hmm.
एलिमेंट।
Correct. Absolutely amazing. So, what I realized from since the beginning of this interview, I generally take interviews, in a very aggressive manner, like, full in that manner. But now talking to you, your voice, it has really soothed me, from the inner self. I mean, I'm feeling so relaxed just by talking to you and listening to you. So that's the aura definitely you carry. Amazing.
थैंक यू, थैंक यू।
Yeah. So, moving towards the end of the interview, one advice that you would like to give to my audience. So, my audience are mostly online coaches and freelancers. They're trying to build their business around it. So, uh, one advice that you will give to them so that they can grow their businesses. What will
One
come?
thing which really
Yeah.
worked for me
Hmm.
is right now in this moment is
Hmm.
to being able to contribute.
Okay.
तब आपके पास कुछ नहीं होता है और उस
Hmm.
टाइम पे आप तभी देते हो,
Hmm.
वही मैटर करता है।
Powerful.
So someone, if you are in this online coaching aspect, and if you think that you are at the rock bottom or at the ceiling of a particular level or roadmap, आपको
Hmm.
वापस से retrospect करना है कि
Hmm.
आप एक्चुअली सर्विस या सेवा दे रहे हो, कंट्रीब्यूशन हो
Hmm.
रहा है आपके सोल और आपके बॉडी के माध्यम से,
Hmm.
आपको रीचेक करना है।
Hmm.
और एल्स वी आर अगेन बीइंग इनटू द नंबर्स गेम,
Hmm.
ऑप्टिमाइजेशन गेम। उसमें हम इस चक्कर में हम ह्यूमन सर्विस भूल जाते हैं।
Correct.
एक्चुअली ये हम पैसा भी क्यों कमा रहे हैं? घर में एक मकान हो जाए, मतलब एक
Hmm.
चादर हो जाए और 2 टाइम का खाना मिल जाए,
Hmm.
और हम फैमिली के रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज कंप्लीट करें। तो
Hmm.
पहले है आप आपके फैमिली को देखें,
Hmm.
आप आपके कंज्यूमर्स और कस्टमर्स को सर्विस एक्चुअली में दे रहे हैं या नहीं,
Hmm.
वो आप देखें।
Great.
सो दैट इज द पीस ऑफ एक्चुअल एडवाइस।
Wonderful. Wonderful. Amazing. It was great talking to you. And one more last thing. If somebody wants to talk to you and reach out to you, how can they do that? Any way can they approach you
Absolutely.
on?
So, well, if you're on the Facebook native channel itself, you can search my name in the group or you can
Great.
search
I'll
my
drop your
profile.
link definitely. I'll drop the
Absolutely.
Instagram and Facebook links to you. So
Yes.
these guys can DM you directly.
Absolutely. You can DM me on Facebook or DM on LinkedIn or Instagram, whatever or
Wonderful.
whichever platform works, and we
Great.
can get in connection.
Wonderful. So guys, I will drop all the links here down below in the if you are watching it on YouTube, so you'll find in the description. If you are watching inside my Facebook group, you'll find in the comments. Amazing. Thank you so much, Advait. Pleasure meeting you today. And I have met you personally 2 or 3 times. Definitely we'll again meet in the month of April. So
Absolutely.
yeah. Thank you so much, bro. Thank you so much for giving me your so precious time of 1 hour. I was expecting 30 minutes, but you over delivered.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. And I hope जो भी कोई सुन रहा है, even if you can apply 1% of what we discussed today, because
Mm,
the conversation happened in your presence also, Rahul.
yeah.
So the quality of questions and the quality of content which got delivered, it is in
Mm,
our presence and it is in the energy of our community and the
mm,
audience. तो जो
mm,
भी कोई सुन रहा है, आप 1% अप्लाई करो और
mm.
हमारा ये काम सिद्ध हो जाएगा, मतलब कंप्लीट हो जाएगा। दैट्स ओनली द
Absolutely.
थिंग। सो दोज हु आर वाचिंग इट, डू अप्लाई, डू चेक। ये अगर आप ये बिजनेस कम्युनिटी में अगर आपसे यहाँ पे सुन सुन के आपको लगा कि आपके फैमिली में नहीं चल रहा है ना कुछ, तो
Mm,
फैमिली में जाके कंट्रीब्यूट करो, आपके हेल्थ
mm,
में जाके कंट्रीब्यूट करो, आपकी स्पिरिचुअल लाइफ में जाके
mm,
कंट्रीब्यूट करो। राइट, अगर आपने वो गुरु के साथ आपका कनेक्शन टूट गया तो उसके साथ कनेक्ट करो,
mm,
तो वो करो। नॉट जस्ट विद बिजनेस, राइट? सो
mm.
इट्स द omni channel approach
Correct.
towards life, a sound approach.
Correct.
So that's about
Wonderful.
it. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, brother. Thank you for this. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye. Bye.